now. Go to the ground now.
Well, get on the ground!
Yeah, get on the ground.
Put your hands on the wheel!
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Throw down.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
What did I do? Driver!
See your hands.
What's going on?
Hey, excuse me, sir, my wife doesn't. Hey, my kids in the car.
It was a quiet morning in a small town, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone else, where children walk to school without fear, and where neighbors often stop to chat on their way to work. The streets were calm, the sun casting a warm glow over the rooftops, and everything seemed ordinary. But beneath this serene surface, something sinister was about to shatter the sense of security that had been built over decades. At the center of this tragedy was Mrs. Evelyn Harper, a well-respected high school teacher known for her dedication, patience, and kindness. She had spent over 20 years shaping young minds, guiding students through their struggles, and inspiring them to pursue their dreams. Teachers like Evelyn are the backbone of every community, the kind of people who leave lasting impressions that ripple through generations. Her classroom was a place of learning, encouragement, and warmth. On the morning of the crime, Evelyn was at home, preparing for the day ahead. She had just finished her coffee, a routine she followed every morning, and was organizing lesson plans for the day. But that routine would be violently interrupted. There was a knock at the door, one that seemed ordinary at first. After all, teachers often receive visits from former students, parents, or colleagues. Evelyn did not expect danger, and she did not suspect that this particular visitor would change everything. The person at the door was Jacob Reynolds, a former student whose life had taken a downward spiral after leaving school. On the surface, Jacob had seemed like an ordinary young man, quiet and reserved. Teachers remember students like that, those who do not attract attention but linger in memory because of their intelligence or potential. Evelyn had noticed Jacob, had offered guidance, mentorship, and encouragement. She had believed in him, but something had changed. Jacob's life after school had been tumultuous, filled with poor choices, legal troubles, and unresolved anger. By the time he arrived at Evelyn's door, he was no longer the student she remembered. Bodycam footage from responding officers would later reveal the terrifying details of what happened next. When Jacob entered the house, Evelyn greeted him with the kindness and warmth she extended to all her former students. She had no reason to suspect that this visit would end in tragedy, but as soon as the door closed behind him, the situation escalated in ways no one could have predicted. The details captured on Bodycam footage later revealed the rapid progression of violence that followed. Jacob had been harboring resentment, frustration, and anger. The reasons were complex: personal failures, feelings of inadequacy, and a twisted perception that Evelyn had somehow abandoned or ignored him when he needed guidance the most. These emotions, combined with a volatile temper and a fragile mental state, created the perfect storm for an act of violence. In an instant, what should have been a friendly visit turned into a confrontation. Jacob attacked Evelyn. The Bodycam footage shows officers arriving shortly after receiving a distress call from neighbors who had heard shouting. They approached the house cautiously, weapons drawn, and immediately noticed signs of a struggle. Furniture was overturned, papers scattered across the floor, and the atmosphere was thick with tension. Inside, Evelyn had been murdered. The crime was brutal and sudden, leaving no opportunity for defense. Jacob, as the footage would later confirm, had acted with precision and determination, ensuring that the attack would be fatal. The scene captured on camera revealed the aftermath. A teacher who had dedicated her life to helping others, now lying lifeless, a stark and shocking contrast to the nurturing environment she had cultivated for decades. When police confronted Jacob, he did not flee immediately. The Bodycam footage shows him pacing, agitated but strangely calm, as though he had already accepted the consequences of his actions. His behavior was chilling, a combination of defiance and detachment that left officers struggling to comprehend the reality of the situation. This was not a crime of impulse alone. It was a calculated act born from a complex web of emotions and perceived grievances. The investigation that followed uncovered a deeper story. Jacob had planned the visit, knowing Evelyn would answer the door and likely welcome him inside. He had brought a weapon, concealed and ready. The attack was deliberate, and the timing suggested premeditation. Law enforcement described it as one of the most chilling cases they had encountered in years, not because of the method alone, but because of the betrayal of trust inherent in the crime. A student, once nurtured and guided, had become the perpetrator of a horrific act against the very person who had believed in him. Community reaction was immediate and intense. Students, colleagues, and neighbors were shocked. Many described Evelyn as the kind of teacher who could change lives, someone whose impact extended far beyond the classroom. Vigils were held in her honor, and memorials filled with flowers, notes, and personal tributes appeared outside the school where she had taught for decades. The tragedy was not just about a life lost, it was about the betrayal of a fundamental bond between teacher and student, a bond built on trust, respect, and care. The bodycam footage played a crucial role in the case. It documented the officers' approach, their cautious entry, and the chilling details of the crime scene. Without it, much of the sequence of events might have remained unclear, and the psychological state of the perpetrator would have been harder to establish. The footage provided undeniable evidence, capturing the scene exactly as it unfolded, allowing investigators, prosecutors, and eventually the jury to understand the gravity of Jacob's actions. An unresolved resentment had escalated into lethal violence. The act of murdering someone who had once been a mentor added an additional layer of horror to the case, making it clear that this was not a random act, but a targeted and intentional crime. Defense attorneys attempted to argue that Jacob's mental state had played a significant role, that he had been unable to control his emotions in the moment, and that his actions were influenced by long-term stress and personal failure. Psychologists testified about his emotional fragility, his feelings of rejection, and the distorted perception he had developed regarding Evelyn's role in his life. However, the prosecution countered with the methodical nature of the crime, the evidence of planning, and Jacob's calm demeanor following the murder, demonstrating that, despite emotional turmoil, he acted with conscious intent. The trial revealed the broader implications of the crime. Teachers, who are often seen as pillars of guidance and safety, are not immune to being targeted by individuals who harbor deep-seated anger or distorted perceptions. This case became a cautionary tale about the potential dangers that can arise when unresolved emotional issues intersect with access and opportunity. Law enforcement also emphasized the role of body cams in documenting crimes like this. The footage not only provided critical evidence, but also offered insight into the rapid escalation of violence, the behavior of the perpetrator, and the response of first responders. Officers reported that having body cams allowed them to remain focused and precise, even in situations of extreme stress, and provided a clear, unaltered record that would later be essential in court. The psychological analysis of Jacob Reynolds offered disturbing insights into his mindset. Experts described a combination of entitlement, unresolved anger, and distorted thinking. He had internalized perceived slights and failures as personal betrayals, leading to a fixation on Evelyn as the source of his grievances. The murder was the culmination of months, if not years, of unresolved tension and emotional instability. It demonstrated how extreme resentment can evolve into calculated violence when left unchecked. Community leaders and educators used the case as a springboard for discussions about mental health, student support systems, and early intervention strategies. Schools implemented additional programs to help identify students struggling with emotional distress, emphasizing the importance of counseling, mentorship, and parental involvement. While nothing could undo the tragedy, these measures aimed to prevent similar acts of violence in the future. The trial concluded with a conviction for first-degree murder. Jacob Reynolds was sentenced to life in prison, reflecting the premeditated and deliberate nature of his actions. The verdict brought a measure of legal closure, but the emotional impact on the community remained profound. Students mourned a beloved teacher, colleagues grieved the loss of a mentor, and neighbors struggled to process how someone they had known could commit such a horrific act. This case stands out not only for the brutality of the murder, but also for the betrayal at its core. Teachers devote their lives to helping others, often investing time, energy, and emotional support in students who may not yet recognize their potential. The idea that a former student could turn against a mentor in such a violent and deliberate way challenges fundamental notions of trust, loyalty, and the protective role of educators in society. The tragedy also underscores the importance of recognizing behavioral warning signs. Jacob Reynolds exhibited several indicators of emotional distress and resentment long before the murder occurred. Friends, family members, and educators may notice patterns of withdrawal, aggression, or obsessive thinking, but without proper intervention, these signs can escalate into dangerous actions. Mental health awareness, open communication, and accessible support services are crucial tools in preventing tragedies of this nature. Bodycam footage continues to serve as a vital tool in understanding the case. It allows investigators, the court, and the public to witness the events as they unfolded, providing clarity and detail that written reports alone cannot convey. From the first moments officers approached the home to the discovery of the crime scene, every second captured offers insight into the rapid escalation of violence, the demeanor of the perpetrator, and the challenges faced by law enforcement in confronting extreme situations. The story of Evelyn Harper and Jacob Reynolds remains a cautionary tale for communities, educators, and parents. It is a stark reminder that violence can emerge where it is least expected, even in places considered safe. The murder of a teacher by a former student is not just a personal tragedy, it is a societal one, raising questions about mentorship, mental health, and the vulnerability of those who dedicate their lives to helping others. For viewers, the case offers both a chilling narrative and a lesson in vigilance. Understanding the psychological factors that lead to such crimes, recognizing warning signs, and fostering open lines of communication within families and schools can help prevent similar tragedies. While the murder of Evelyn Harper cannot be undone, it provides an opportunity to reflect on the complexities of human behavior, the potential for violence, and the importance of proactive intervention in high-risk situations. Ultimately, the story of Evelyn Harper and Jacob Reynolds is a haunting exploration of trust betrayed, human nature, and the bonds between teacher and student. As long as Bodycam technology continues to capture events in real time, cases like this will serve as stark reminders of the fragility of life, the consequences of unresolved anger, and the devastating impact of violence within our communities. The morning that began like any other ended in horror, leaving behind grief, unanswered questions, and the chilling realization that evil can sometimes come from the very people we once believed we could trust. Evelyn Harper's life was dedicated to nurturing, teaching, and guiding others. And yet, in a single moment, it was cut short by a former student whose rage and resentment had festered unchecked. The story stands as both a tragedy and a warning, a testament to the power of human emotion and the consequences when it turns deadly.